Greetings of the day, students. Welcome to Bangla Shikha Classroom, an endeavor of Paschim Bongo Samagro Shikha Mission under the Education Department, Government of West Bengal. I am Mita Dotto, Assistant Teacher of Dokhineshwar Sri Sri Sharoda Devi Balika Vidya Mandir. In this session, we are going to discuss the grammar in use, paragraph and summary, that is the writing skill of the lesson His First Flight by Liam O'Flaherty. In the previous classroom, we have discussed the lesson in details and also the question patterns that you are supposed to answer in the Madhyamik examination. In today's lesson, we will study the grammar in use, which has been given as changing the parts of speech of a particular word. So before going into that, you all already know, but I want to revise again the 8 parts of speech in English, that is noun, verb, adjective, adverb, pronoun, preposition, conjunction and interjection. So here in changing the parts of speech of a word, the 4 parts of speech that is usually involved are noun, verb, adjective, adverb. So before changing a word, before changing a word from one part of speech to another, we should have a good idea of what the definition of those parts of speeches are. So what is a noun? A noun is a word that refers to a person, place, thing or idea. Like if I say teacher, it's a noun. If I say the name of a teacher, it's a noun. Seagull, as you have learnt in the lesson, seagull, it's a bird, it's also a noun. Beach is a place, pencil is a thing, happiness, it's a feeling. So all these are nouns. What is a verb? A word that expresses action or a state of being. That is, when we do some work, it is a verb. What is an adjective? A word that modifies or describes a noun. If a thing is little or big, like a room. A room is a noun. So is it a big room? Is it a dark room? Is it a small room? So what type of room it is, that is described by a word that is called the adjective. It tells how the room is. Then we come to adverb, a word that modifies or describes a verb, adjective or another adverb. So quickly, very well, all these are adverbs. Usually we add the word ly for making it an adverb. So now we come to how a word's part of speech can be often changed by adding a suffix. A suffix is a word that is added, not a word, it doesn't mean anything by itself. It is a part of a word by adding which we change that word and also change the parts of speech of a word. So noun to verb, you can add ize, ate or ify. The examples are priority. So to make priority, to change priority into a verb, you add ize and make it prioritize. So that makes it a verb. Vaccine, you all know, you have all taken COVID vaccine. So vaccine is a noun, but when the process of vaccination is done, then it is vaccinate, that is a verb. And then comes the second one, when we change from adjective to adverb. So quick is an adjective we add ly to change it into quickly. Noun to adjective is, we have to add full, less, ors, like hope. Hope is a noun. So when we change it into an adjective, it becomes hopeful by adding ful. So hopeful is like, I am very hopeful that this is happening. So it is how I am feeling. It is modifying my feeling. Care. Care is noun. Careless. So she is a careless girl. Or you often hear in your classroom that you have made a very careless mistake. So careless is what type of mistake you have made. You were not attentive and you have made a careless mistake. So that describes your type of mistake. And then from word to noun, it can be done by adding ment, ion, ation. So develop, to develop something or to make something is a verb. So how do they make the noun form of develop? So it is development. The entire process of getting developed is development, and that is a noun. So decide. Decide is something that we think can come to a conclusion. So that is a verb. We do it. We work to make a decision. We work together, we discuss together. So it's a work. So what is the noun form of it? We add ion and make it decision. Likewise, invite. To invite somebody is to call somebody for something. That is a verb. We do that work. So what is the noun form? Invitation. We send an invitation card. So invitation is a noun. So these are some of the ways that you can change a word by change the parts of speech of a particular word that is given in question. So you have also to think about another process, like some words can change parts of speech without changing form depending on the context. So there are also some words which you do not need to change, like you do not need to add any suffix, you do not need to add anything that we learned just some time ago, ate or ify or ion or anything. The word remains as the word, but the placement of the word, where the word is placed in that sentence makes the difference or makes the change. So from noun to verb, when we change, let us consider the word fish. Everybody of us know what a fish is, and we know that a fish lives in water, so the fish swims. Here fish is a noun. There is also another fish. Like there are some people who like to tell about themselves that I have done this, I have done that. So people appreciate them. So this process is called fishing for compliments, or I fish for compliments. Like here fish represents I search for compliments. And for searching for compliments, I say something about myself which makes people appreciate me. So here the meaning of fish is search. So when I tell that the fish swims, here fish is a noun, but without changing the fish without changing the word fish in any form by adding anything to it, I keep the word fish but use it in a different sentence in which the meaning is completely different from what it was in the fish swims. When I say I fish for compliments, it is I search for compliments, and here the same fish which in the fish swims was a noun is a verb. Now we come to the second word, high. Here the temperature when we have a fever is said she is having a high temperature or she is running a high temperature. Here high is modifying how much the temperature is, how the temperature is. So it is indicated by high. So it is an adjective here. But when high is used like the temperature recorded an all-time high this summer. So this time the temperature during summer recorded an all-time high. Here the use of word high is a noun because this is not modifying any temperature. This is telling about a thing that was achieved this summer. So this high here without the change of any, without changing the word by adding anything indicates a noun. So we see that the words can be changed in two forms, either by adding a suffix or by the use of the word in that particular sentence. So when you are given to change the form of the words, usually you have a sentence given and they ask in the question that rewrite this as a noun. For example, if they tell you that use high as an adjective and use high as a noun, then this high temperature and the temperature recorded at all-time high, these are the sentences. In the lesson 8 that we are like we were talking about, we are doing just now, you have a table given and some words given under the headings of noun, verb, adjective, adverb. So in some the noun form is given, there you have to write the other words by adding the appropriate suffixes, and wherever what is given you have to fill in the other columns accordingly, and at the same time you have to construct a sentence in your mind to think or to verify whether the word that you are putting is actually used in that meaning or that form which has been asked in the question. So to sum it up, let us consider a word beauty. So to change this word, the noun beauty, into other parts of speech, to use it as a verb, what do we use? We use IFY to add, and here of course the noun Y will go off and IFY will come and the word beauty will become beautify, which means a verb. Then we add beautiful, FUL, to make it from beauty to beautiful, which is an adjective because it modifies the noun. And then we add FULLY to make it an adverb, which is beautifully. So usually in your questions you are given like this a particular word and you have to make the other words which can be done with adding the suffix that has been showed in this particular slide. Then you have paragraph writing. In paragraph writing, paragraphs are of different types. Sometimes you are given suitable points where it is just a general paragraph on some topic with the hints given. Sometimes it is a flow chart, like how to make, how to wash clothes in the washing machine. That is a flow chart. Like there are some processes given one by one in chronological order, after which, one after the another, whatever you have to follow. So that is a flow chart. Another type is that you very commonly do is preparing some food, some pickle, fried rice or orange juice. So these are some of the forms of paragraph writing that you are asked to do. So in all the types, you have to give a suitable title. There should be an introductory sentence which is very important to the whole paragraph, because when you start, that line should actually bring out the essence of the thing you are writing. It must be written in passive voice, and usually it is, you don't repeat that. When you write one process after another, there are some linkers, like at first if you write something about making orange juice, so it is usually opening sentence. An opening sentence like orange juice is a very delicious drink, a very refreshing drink which we all like, and an opening sentence is usually like that. And after that we usually write, at first we go to the market and bring oranges, then we clean it, next we take it to the we clean it and collect in basket, next we peel off the covers from it after that. So these are some of the linkers through which you can join the points that are given, because repetition of the same linker doesn't make the paragraph it doesn't make a good construction of the paragraph. It is not a good one from the literary point of view. So mark the linkers and use it appropriately to make your paragraph more enriching. And how you make the use of those linkers and join the lines to make it a chronological, logical paragraph is how much marks you can be given for that. So now the stages of the flow chart, of course, one after another, logically and reasonably it should be given. And at the last, at the end, what you should do is write a relevant concluding sentence, which again must be a very good one, like the one you wrote in the beginning, so that there is a proper introduction also and a proper conclusion also, that makes your paragraph writing complete. So whoever reads it will find it to be a complete, coherent, good paragraph. Now there are some important points to be kept in mind. So as I already told you, the opening sentence should be a good one, which is considered to be the key sentence. On reading the first sentence, whoever is reading should feel attracted towards what you are writing. So the key sentence should be followed by relevant supporting sentences, which again should have a very good and complete conclusion. The sentences in between the body of the paragraph should be relevant and logical. The first line also, or the introductory line, as I told you, should provide information about what you are trying to establish later in the paragraph. Sentences should be arranged in a sequence. Do not write anything that one process which should come after another goes before that one. So that will just create an error in the entirety of the paragraph. Sentences should begin in different ways. That's why I mentioned about the linkers. If you use different type of linkers to begin each sentence, of course you have to do that relevantly. Then of course the paragraph will look more attractive. There should be a title or heading, as we already discussed. And also, you may add some information other than the hints that are already given there. So, if it is something relevant that will make your paragraph more attractive, of course, keeping in mind the word limits that are stated in the paragraph, you can of course do so, because remember, the hints are given just as an outline to give you some idea of the paragraph. The more information you add, keeping intact the word limits that are asked for, the more good your paragraph will be. Sentences of course should be technically correct regarding the spelling, construction, grammar, punctuation, everything, and the use of capital letters wherever needed. Those all should be taken care of to write a good and correct paragraph. Connecting phrases also can be used. I have given a list of them. So, according to the paragraph, type of paragraph that you are writing, these can be kept in mind. So, when you show addition, or like when you are adding something, again, and also, besides, equally important, first, second, etc. So, these are some of the words. Moreover, when you write that, give some information and want to give more, then you can begin with these words. To give some examples, for example, for instance, in fact, specifically, to illustrate, these are some of the words that may be used. To compare also can be used in the same way, likewise, in the same manner, likewise, similarly. For contrasting, for putting up two ideas which are opposite to each other, you can use nevertheless, on the contrary, at the same time, although. So, there are so many. To summarize or put a conclusion, you can write in conclusion, in other words, in summary, on the whole, to sum up, to show time, after, afterwards, meanwhile, and there are so many, subsequently, to show place or direction, above, below, beyond, elsewhere, nearby, opposite, to indicate logical relationship accordingly. So, if you write a sentence and then the next sentence you want to establish some idea of yours, then you can use these words. So, these are, you can say, a list of vocabularies, words which will enrich your paragraphs of any sort. So, if you keep this in your mind, learn this, it will just make your writing skill more complete, more attractive, and of course, it will be very important and very necessary in your future examinations, in even your communication skill, which is very important. We write, learn correct English so that we can communicate and express what we feel. If we don't, if we are not able to express correctly what is inside us, whether it is in the form of writing or whether it is in the form of speaking, our expression brings out our inner ideas. So, the more variety you bring to your writing, the more enriched it will be. And of course, in the process, you will of course get good marks. Not only that, apart from marks, we have to go beyond and look into what we want to do in our entire lives after the education process is over. So, once you learn this well, you will be able to apply these in your broader aspects of life, and of course it will help you always. You will realize that. And then in this lesson there is another thing called summary writing. You have been given a summary to write. So what is summary? Summary, or it is called a précis also. It is very important to learn summarizing, because through this summarizing we learn to speak to the point, and from a big piece of literature, like when we go through books or some passages, we have few messages which we are given. Like when we did the lesson, His First Flight, it is a story of like 4 pages, but when you are asked what you have learned from it, then you have to tell in brief what exactly you learned from the story and what the story is about. So then comes the importance of summary writing, because then what you need to tell, like you have 2 minutes time, you have to tell what you have learned from the story. So you have to express it in a way that no points are left out. You tell the story completely so that it makes complete sense, and also relate it to what you have learned or what message you have got from the story. So when you need to do that, of course you have to be very precise. So therein summary writing comes as a very important step. So what is a summary? A summary is a brief statement or account of the main points of some bigger passage, as I was telling you. A lesson of 4 pages you have to tell just in 1 or 2 minutes. So of course you have to accumulate the main points in your mind and speak about it. So it is a short paragraph that informs the reader of the main ideas of a longer piece of writing. So what we can say is, a summary is a short version of a longer thing. And a summary, it is written in your own words. And though it is written in your own words, you have to be very careful that it carries only the ideas of the original text. You cannot write your opinions, ideas, interpretation or anything. A summary is just the representation of the original passage or text briefly. So do not put any of your opinions, interpretation, deductions, comments to a summary. A good summary, it should be very small, it should be logical, it should contain all the important points that the original text is trying to explain or express. So how do we go about this process? First, we have to read and understand the text. We have to read it again and again very carefully and understand the main idea, what the passage is trying to tell. So it is very good to take a pencil, because if it is possible, while reading the text you can underline the important lines, or if it is sometimes you are not allowed to mark in the question papers. So there you have to take a rough page and write down the most important lines. And you have to think that you have to find out the important lines. How? You have to identify those lines without which the meaning of the text is incomplete. And you have to identify also the lines by rejecting which lines. It doesn't matter if you cut off or put off this line, but the meaning of the text remains same. So you have to see which line is very important to the passage and which lines are not at all important to the passage. So what your motive will to bring out those lines without which the passage, the meaning of the passage is incomplete. And you have to determine the length. Usually there are guidelines given that write in this much words. So you have to do accordingly, or otherwise it will be some 10 to 25% of the original length. You have to count words and then make 25% of it and then complete the length in that, like complete your summary in that much of length. Usually the word limit is given when you are given to write. So next is, after putting down the important lines, you have to rephrase the lines. You have to write those lines in your own words. It is not at all recommended to copy and write the exact words of the text. And as I said, there will be nothing from your side, no addition from your side, just what the text is saying, not your opinions. So nothing adding or doing anything is not recommended. Another thing is, you have to focus on the main points. What does that mean? All the details and illustrations you can leave out. In some passage it may be given honesty is the best policy, and there may be some lines given and giving an example of that. You don't need to give the example, you may leave out the example, because what the passage is trying to tell you can be maintained by not mentioning the example. So you have to find out those parts which you do not need to mention in the summary you are giving. And also, some informative parts are there. There are some statistics given to exemplify whatever is stated. So you need to give just the meaning. You may not give all the statistics which are given as examples to prove that point. The point is necessary, not the proof. So in this way you can keep only the main ideas, combine them into fewer sentences than what the original passage has, and then write in your own words. Here also the introductory word is very important, as I also said while writing the paragraph. This is actually applicable for all types of writing skill. The starting sentence and the concluding sentence, they are very essential to the main content of whatever you are writing. So be very focused on that. The tense used should be correct, use in one tense. See what tense has been used in the original text and do likewise. Often present tense is the preferred means of tense. So after you do this, like collect the important points, write it in your own words, see what can be excluded, keep only what needs to be included. So after making a summary, keeping in mind those points, you have to read the summary. Why? Because you have to find out that whether your summary that you have written actually relates to the original one and feels like it is accurate and complete. You know the original text by now, so when you read the summary, you have to find out very carefully whether it is bringing out all the ideas that the original text is trying to bring out. And also make it clear and logical, easy to understand, because someone who is reading your summary, he or she is not reading the original passage, So try to find out from his or her perspective whether by reading your summary he or she gets the whole flavor of the original text or passage. And then if you have used any direct quotes from the original, be sure to put them in quotation marks and write them correctly. So this is for all answers. Wherever you use quotations from the text, if it is necessary, then you have to do so within inverted commas, indicating that those are not your own words but copied from the text. So if necessary, you can do that also. Now, what is more important in this concluding slide is that you have to read widely. You have to read books, English newspapers. Nowadays in the internet, many good articles are available online. You have to see how grammar is correctly used in a context. You have to note the structure of a sentence, the punctuations used. Nothing will help you like reading widely and also writing, because writing only makes you learn whatever you have already learned twice. So when you write the same thing that you have learned, you are just putting it intensely in your mind. So write often, start with writing exercises. Try to, like nowadays, you know, there are so many essay competition, journal writings, blog writing. So you should, try to participate in these things, because when you participate in something like this, you get to compare yourself with many more writers, many more people of your kind, and you get to read their writings also, compare them, and in fact, in the process, make your own growth possible. So you have to pay attention to what other speakers speak. English news you have to speak, because from listening to English podcasts, interviews, music, news, everything, you learn the pronunciation of things. You learn the fluency of speaking a language. And above all, you can conquer that hesitation in you which prevents you from speaking the language. So the more you interact, the more you will learn the subject well. And of course, always from whatever you read, whatever you learn the new word, keep in your mind. If possible, it's very good to use it in a sentence. Using a word in a sentence makes you learn much more effectively. And also you learn the correct usage of it. And when you learn the correct usage of it, you can use it in whatever you write to express your ideas. That will make your writing different from others. That will provide uniqueness to your writing. And you should always try to do that. So writing is actually an exploration. You start from nothing and learn as you go. When we see students in the classroom, they don't answer the like writing skill answers that are asked. So there are situations when there is nothing, but we see so many students who get motivated by listening to the things I have mentioned, by reading good books, by reading and writing their own thoughts, what is going on in their minds. They do so and they try to learn. And this is learning as you go. It refers to the repeated and development nature of the writing process. Writing is an active form of learning that reshapes your understanding of the subject matter. So you will understand it yourself that once you start, like the little seagull, once you overcome your fear of writing, you will learn more as you go. You will fly high like the seagull. So thank you from me and from the little seagull, and all of us will be expecting that you have a very good learning session and try to do something that will, of course, make you fly high fearlessly like the seagull. Thank you, students.